Now what?
It says we're live. We don't
It
have any
does.
viewers yet, though.
Um,
We don't have any
okay.
what?
Does this show on my Facebook newsfeed or what? Oh my gosh, it does actually. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
It
I've
hasn't
excellent.
the whole
never
time
done this
because that
before. That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, welcome everyone to this impromptu, non-planned interview with two of my favorite guests here on whatever this is called actually, because I'm a little jaded right now. I don't know what's going on here really. In fact, I
Oh,
think what brought me up here, why we decided to do this little live with Dr. Sandy Hilton and Dr. Sarah Haag on the lower right, is because it has to do with that video last month that you two ladies here and Dr. Karen Litzy, New York City, had brought out regarding the quality of education in physiotherapy and why a lot of DPT students are more excited and more motivated to go to the workshops that shows techniques and have all these fancy toys rather
Island
than
Wi-Fi.
research. Before it, yeah. And I think the one that really got me a little emotional was that Instagram video with Dr. Ellie Summers. Is that her name? Ellie
yeah.
Summers? Did I get it correct? Okay, just checking. Just won't say the wrong name here. Yeah, and that was shared like what, like 1,000 times last month.
Oh gosh, I didn't even go look, but it was pretty heart-wrenching. I'm not surprised it got
It
around.
was short. I played that little video about 15 times at least because I was hoping there might be more at the end. It seems like an open-ended show that has no resolution. It's like she's about to break down or something, but I guess I'll never find out. So, so
We'll
what are
have
you
Ellie
doing
do a
today? I'm sorry?
we'll have Ellie do a part two. Say,
Oh, please. I would
come
love
back,
that to have a
Ellie.
part two.
So
Oh
hopefully
my
it'll be a
gosh.
happier ending. What
Holy
I love
crap.
about how passionate she is about more better education, and the only reason, well, the reason why she posted that is I just emailed her that morning, and I hate making people sad. But she
Oh,
there's we have a couple things scheduled out west and they're just not filling, which honestly for us at this point we're pretty jaded ourselves, I guess, because stuff is not filling in Chicago either. And I know even like Rajam has trouble filling San Diego Pain Summit, where we have like quite honestly like the best researchers in this area willing to come and talk to clinicians to help kind of not kind of, but to like spread the word and for them to learn from us what do they need to do to help get what they're doing into practice and what do they need to be looking at and
mhm.
really so what you're doing in practice is nice, but we have better information now and to really bridge that gap, not to steal the name of a presentation from CSM a couple years ago. um,
Hold on, sorry, we're kind of breaking up right here because just FYI for the people who just got in here, I'm actually on a remote island off the coast of Southern California, and we have one of the crappiest Wi-Fi's in the world. So sorry if it's starting to garble a little bit, like I'm hearing Dr. Sarah here talking right now, but please continue. I think we got a little better now. So,
every now and then it actually looks a little like Blair Witch Projecty. So just let us
oh yeah, it
keep us
does.
posted that you're okay.
Blur what she All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, just really, I think probably the frustrating bit that Ellie, well, I won't speak for Ellie, but that we certainly feel time to time is that we might not have the biggest name or the most popular name off of social media coming, but we have got to look past the shiny shit and really
Okay.
look at the
The
quality,
shiny shit.
um,
Okay.
and where the quality information is coming from, and when those people are talking, to actually like listen and ask questions. Because I'll be honest, the thing I love the most about these people are that they will not say they have all the answers. Even if you want
Hmm.
them, they won't say that they have them because we don't. So anyway, so Ellie, when you watch this, whenever you do, love you. You're doing great work. Thanks for your patience.
That's awesome. So what's on the menu tonight?
For
Drinking?
Yeah, drinking. What else is there?
Past dinner time. I'm having some Amaro.
Tomorrow. Okay.
I had just a little red Zinfandel.
Okay. Just water here.
I
All
No
right.
judgment. Just keep not drinking with us.
No, I can't. I can't afford any alcohol right now. It's not risky on the island. You never know what I'm gonna do. People here become a little strange once they spend too long on a 1 square mile town. So
Mhm.
yeah, we're
You know
in
what's
New.
bigger than 1 square mile?
What?
Chicago. Chicago.
Well, it's a city. It's a densely packed city. I've been there. I mean, but
Come
it's
here.
like
Yeah,
what?
but you get that also like a quarter mile up, 1 square mile.
Yeah, that too. All right, here. Okay, so another question is about that I want to ask you about that I've been asking for a while is how did you two even got involved with pelvic health? I mean, I've never heard of this little branch of physiotherapy until I met you two at the San Diego Pain Summit back in 2015, and I was curious, what got you in there?
What got you in there, Sandy?
Yeah. Well, it's probably both of you, but if you're a tag team if you
Well,
want to. No?
yeah, well, for me, it primarily there was a need that I was seeing people that needed help in that region that people like to not really talk about or know much to do about, and that was just unacceptable. I needed to know more. So I started working in pelvic health with men with really low back pain issues and mechanical problems that had that in their mobility. And then I asked about if women had problems too, and then I got into female pelvic health because I I needed to. There was a need, and this was long enough ago that most of what we were doing was still pretty self-taught. If you didn't live in a city where there was already someone doing it, um, and then a few years later, I ended up in the classes to to make sure that I was doing it right.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there was just a need. There's over a third of women will end up with some sort of incontinence or pelvic issue in their lifetime, and pelvic pain is not well documented for how many people are affected of all
Mm,
genders. So
that's interesting. Okay. So is this a pretty new branch of physiotherapy or has it just been recently emerged?
I think it's
Uh,
recently older, but it's been around for quite a while. And certainly in other countries for a very long time. Australia led the
Hmm.
way in this
Oh,
with
really?
the women that came up to the States and taught people what to do about it. And
Hmm.
so it has been around for a long time. Different cultures handle it better, and some places on the planet just need desperately to get this started because it's not equally handled around the world, and it needs to be.
Okay, that's good. Okay. And Sarah, what about you?
I would say right place, right time. So I actually started working. I was moving back to the States, and I started working at the Rehab Institute of Chicago, and they were just starting a public health program, and I had heard of it.
Hmm.
And I was also, well, I guess I'm still kind of like this, but like I was young and ready to do anything, and and they were just starting the program. They brought all the training in, and I just had this glorious opportunity to get all of the education plus a big boatload of patients where I could actually practice what I learned. I'd say that's probably one of the, let's say, like most challenging things when you're learning a new subject area is if you don't have a caseload to actually apply it, you don't you don't have that opportunity to build confidence or to use your clinical reasoning skills. So I was really fortunate to have an entire team, a nice steady flow of patients, and that was really freaky, like 13 years ago that
Wow.
I've been
Okay.
doing it. But it really is.
Wow, that's a lot
It's
to
funny that people are
grasp
saying
around.
it's new because even though I am so young, right, Nick? Even though I'm so
Well, you surprised me because I thought you were 29, 30 when I met you. So I think you, in my head, you still are.
I'll take it. But the it yeah, it is. It's just one of those things where it's just now becoming popular and more talked about. But in spite of that, like Sandy was talking about how like a third of women are going to have problems. Actually, over the age of 65, half of them are. And that's just the ones that are reported. And obviously, when your pelvic region is having issues, there's a lot of awkward conversations that people, one, don't want to have, and two, don't know that there's help for. So, why would I tell you about this terribly painful or challenging or embarrassing issue if it won't matter? If there's nothing you can do to help me. So doctors don't know, doctors don't ask, patients don't tell. I think it's likely a much more common issue than we even know. And so Julie even heard about it in 2006, but it was Europe, right? Yeah. So in Europe has been a little bit ahead of us here for sure.
Okay.
And some people do ask and they're told there isn't any help. So there's some misinformation out there amongst healthcare providers too. Even if you say, this isn't okay, they're like, well, just deal with it because there's nothing you can do about it. So then why would that person keep asking questions if when they do ask, they're told that that's just their lot in life and they're going to have to learn to live with it.
Well, that sucks, man. That's how much promise
it does really, because there's so much. Pain's hard to help, and you don't want to give anyone promises and false hope. But incontinence has great evidence that we can help 86% of the people with it to not have symptoms. So that's pretty awesome.
I'll also throw in there, it's not fair to give people false hope, but pelvic pain, and I know this is up for discussion, but there's no reason in my brain to think that recovering from pelvic pain, even chronic pelvic pain, is going to be any more challenging than fibromyalgia, than, do you know what I mean? Like than any other chronic pain issue, but it is often like, woof, pelvic, that's going to be bad. But it's not. It can be more bothersome and scary for a lot of reasons. But if you really get down to it, there's no reason to expect it to not get better. Is that fair, Sandy?
Well, that's how I think, because I refuse to say, well, you're just going to have to deal with it the way it is. Bronnie and I get into some interesting conversations, Bronnie Thompson, about, can people get out of pain? And that's for another time and beyond the scope of tonight. I don't have enough wine to I think that people can get better. Whether that's absolutely pain-free and before it all hurt or not is a really interesting discussion. I like to aim for that. I just do. And I will fully admit my bias on that. And I have no evidence to back it up except for that I like to aim for that.
That's good.
Well, it confirms my bias.
Right? That's good. And that's, we're good. We've doubled it's like a massive increase in data.
And going back to that, tying to that, what you just said here about the issues about pelvic pain and all that, I still see a lot of posts on social media by my PT friends from all over the world, like Michael Butler over in the UK and Adam Meakin's rants, and a couple of other people, and they talk about how a lot of the PT students are still being taught about stuff that are really outdated, despite 3 to 4 decades of research that indicates otherwise. So it seems like there's still a lot of work to do. But I'm wondering, how can we actually improve the way we communicate on social media? And given what happened last month in what in your discussion, how can we improve our end of educating the public and our fellow peers?
I'm waiting to see if Sarah's going to go. I think that the short answer to that would be we need to put out good information. And I probably am quoting Sarah of that if you want to change it, if you want to dilute the misinformation out there, then you have to keep producing content that is more accurate and do it in multimedia fashions in a lot of different places where people will see it. There are people trying to do that, but it's just going to take a lot of us. And overwhelm the information.
Well, do we need a
And
bigger megaphone or do we need a different strategy to reduce it? I mean, is good information enough?
I would say it. Oh, um, so one thing, there's always I talk about sometimes with my patients about like getting out of debt, and there's two ways to get out of debt, right? One is to
Mm,
stop spending the money. The other is to start like earning and saving more. So if we think about like getting out more, better, accurate, helpful information as like paying off the debt, it'd be really great if we could have more, better, professional conversations about inaccurate information, because unfortunately there are a lot of very loud, very very popular, very well followed people in the world saying things that are not exactly accurate and aren't terribly helpful or hopeful. And I'll just throw it out there, not particularly related to pain, but the information surrounding diastasis rectus abdominis, the separation of your ab muscles that often happens during pregnancy. There is so much silliness when really, if you look at the literature, we don't know a whole lot. And even this definition as to what becomes pathological, um, we don't know what that means. So it's separate. That doesn't mean you have any issues whatsoever. Like there's just so many questions, but I have women, medical doctors who came to me as patients who were scared to reach over their head for 3 years because someone said it would make their abs separate more.
Right.
So, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. But to basically, can we start to dilute that silliness with more accurate, helpful information?
And this is where I think our professional organizations could step up a little and be willing um, to actually promote the evidence that's out there for that, and to take the risk um, of offending the people who tie themselves and their techniques so closely together that a conversation about the technique is taken as an insult to them
wow.
personally.
This sounds a
Um,
lot like massage therapy.
well, it's what you get when you get people that care so deeply about what they're doing that it becomes who they are. And
Wow.
I don't mean that in any way as a slight. But it is
Hmm.
definitely a weakness, because then you can't have a conversation and learn because it's too threatening to you. Um, and it would be lovely if our professional organizations had the courage to be willing to not be always popular and to take a
Hmm.
stand on that. Um, that would help a lot, because then you wouldn't have individual therapists saying, but here's where the research is, and the professional organization putting out something about text neck. And you're like, thanks. You just totally undercut everything we're trying to do. But yay. And that inconsistency doesn't help at all.
Mm,
But
oh
that's a
boy.
risky move for them, because there will be people who don't like it. And
So, so what do they have to lose? I mean, if they were
members,
to do
dollars,
so,
Dollars.
really?
Remember.
dollars,
That, okay.
dollars and patience. So for the clinician who's been selling that,
Wow.
of, I sell the brace that keeps your abs together, or I sell the technique or the tool or the thing, and that's a line of income for me, and this is what I'm known for in town. To say, wow, yeah, I'm going to change that. I'm going to de-adopt. I learned more. I'm going to stop doing this, and now I'm going to move in this direction. That's hard to do, and it can make you lose customers, can make you lose referral sources. Um, and for a professional organization, it can make people not be members and to say mean things about you. So there's risk
Well,
in taking
yeah.
that stand.
Now, Jamie Lowry just did a little pretty interesting question here. I like his little thing here. Is that shown on Facebook at all? He talked about how do we separate the financial interests of those promoting less evidence-based stuff and essentially pay off the professional associations to advertise.
How do we, well, why, when you walk through an exhibit hall in a professional association like ours, are there ginormous booths that paid a lot of money to advertise things that have shown not to be helpful or are actually recommended against in guidelines. So it's got to
Well,
start somewhere.
that's
Someone's going to
yeah,
have the courage to
that's a
say no.
tough. I mean, that is a tough one because even in when I used to back in the San Diego State University newspaper publishing back in the late '90s, I mean, we had, we relied on advertising from local businesses to help us fund our publication, and because print and print itself alone, not including the wages of the writers, the editors, that's expensive, everything.
Yeah.
So even for our publication, we hardly even have advertising at all. We have only like 3 to 4 tops to help us run what we have. So we're not really biased toward for our advertisers. So that's one challenge we have to figure out.
I've gone to a conference 2 years, and I'm really excited for the next one coming up next year, almost exactly a year from now. The International Back and Neck Pain Forum. So this was the first conference I went to where there's no exhibit hall, there's no advertisers, zero.
Where is this again? Where is this again?
Well, it moves around. So the next one I believe is going to be in Quebec next early July.
What is it called again?
The International Back and Neck Pain Forum.
Okay.
And it was so refreshing on 2 fronts. One is that if you don't have the exhibit hall to go wander through, do you know what you do instead? You go to the freaking posters and talk to the researchers doing the stuff. Mm-hmm. The other nice thing is this really is, I would say, probably the most concentrated collection of people doing research in back and neck pain. Those are the 2 biggest problems we have. It's amazing. But also it's really showing that they have the courage of their convictions, right? That they're like, no, thank you to the money. We'll bump up the price a bit. It was still, no offense to America, the best, like you still get lunches and snacks and coffee included in the fee.
Could you type in the link for that, if possible, Sarah, onto the Facebook page so that people who are interested in taking a look at it? Because I'm actually interested in myself.
I'll send myself a little note because I'm not sure that it's actually, the website's even up, like they have different hosts every about 18 months.
Okay.
But it's really amazing. And that just made my heart really happy because what does it mean? I don't know if it means anything other than just saying, look, we're not going to sit around and decide if your stuff is good enough or not. We're just going to have the research. Thanks anyway, though. And
that's pretty much what Rajam did with San Diego Pain Summit. That's what was the major attraction. There's no exhibit hall. There's hardly any booths. There's a few or hang around, but they don't really push you to buy anything, nor are they based on a lot of pseudoscience, for instance.
Well, the nice thing there is that Rajam is the one making those decisions, and she's like, nope, that's silly. Thank you, Francois. You're on top of it. Thank you, Francois, for us.
Francois, aren't you in Quebec, Francois? Are you from there? Sorry, I'm thinking aloud here.
Well, Francois is listening, so.
Well, I don't know.
You actually mentioned something in Vancouver. So, Francois, I'll be in Vancouver next month if you want to talk pain and stuff.
You're going to Vancouver again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so jealous.
Here's a funny story. So I have a course, Pelvic Health for Non-Pelvic Health Practitioners. All are welcome. I have never taught it in the States, but I keep seeing the Canadians, Australians, and New Zealanders seem to like me okay. It's pretty...
I put in a request for her to teach it at Entropy. She's thinking about it.
Really?
My international
So are you saying that your courses are actually attracting more Canadians and Kiwis and Australians over here more so than Americans?
No, she's gone to them.
Oh, you're going to them. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it backwards. Sorry.
Yeah, no, which I very much appreciate. As much as I love Chicago, I love traveling too. So, just in Vancouver.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's good, and but it is kind of fun. I would say that the most interesting thing since, 2015 with the first San Diego Pain Summit is how awesome it's been to learn more about all of the different people helping people who hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So to get into the massage therapist, I didn't even know what a myotherapist was. Kirby, wherever you are in Canada now. Oh, Francois, I'm sorry. We did meet you with Bodie in Vancouver. But yeah, so like I didn't know what a myotherapist was, and I've hung out with a lot more osteopaths and even a couple of chiropractors who aren't too crazy, Richard.
Richard. Yeah, he's
But
our token. He's our token right now. So
are,
you
are,
Greg, crazy.
that's what Greg might be. But you know, I love that we're all trying to get on the same page and say things that are less wrong and work together. And you know, there's always this like, this is my space, get out of it. And that's not how the world works, in spite of what our president might be saying. That's just not how it works. We need to work together, and we all have stuff to offer.
Yeah, totally. And I know it's past your bedtime, Sarah, so I'll make this really quick here. One more little answer here. So, uh, oh boy, it slipped out of my head for a second here. Um, so in regards to communicating on social media, then, besides you mentioned about getting not just only good information, but how do you think we can present the information better rather than just a bunch of facts and figures and stuff like that? Should we do memes? Should we do cartoons? Should we do something like a comedy or something? I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here.
You want to go
Yes, and stories, people's
Oh
stories,
yeah,
like
people stories. Like the one like with Aaron Jackson and Joletta and that one guy who was at the
first?
Pain Center
uh-huh,
forum there. Oh my
yep,
gosh, that's so cool. All we need is more wine and coffee for that segment, to make it even more interesting, right?
there you go. Yeah, people's stories, make it real, make it sticky, so that
Make it
Hmm.
that people can understand that knowing better and more accurate information helps them now and also in the future. And it's not, yeah, I go on and on about self-efficacy a lot, but really, if you can learn how to do things for yourself and learn that you have the resources to help yourself, then
Hmm.
it's not as scary.
Hmm.
And you still need help, but you can rely on yourself for some things, and that just makes it better and better. It's hard. It's a hard sell to say we're going to teach you how to do this for you. It's a lot easier to say, "Hey, come in here. I'll make you all better."
Hmm.
Um, but it's true, and we can help people and help them help themselves better. Um, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I think we just do it. That was always the thing of how do you market yourself as a therapist? It's like, well, I want all those people who don't need to come to see me anymore going around telling all their friends that they're better, that they are not going to that person once a week or once a month so that they're okay, but that they're out
Yeah.
scuba diving and skydiving and
Mhm.
whatever, and aren't spending their time and money in therapy. And then send all their friends. You got to do that part, and then send all your friends.
Okay.
But
Well, we have to wrap this up pretty soon because we're past the 30-minute mark that I promised Sarah that it is her bedtime. She needs
You
her
know,
beauty
oh,
sleep, for
thank you.
everything. So I'm just gonna have to thank you, ladies, for your time for this little brainstorm here. I think we may have gotten some questions answered, and but at the same time, there's a lot more questions I would like to ask you in the near future if you're open for this. And for anyone who is still currently watching this, if you want to do a little improvised interview about what you do, why you do, and we talk a little bit about research and practice and no shits and giggles, be sure to give me, yeah, just contact me. You got my number, you got my email, so we can do this sometime. So thank you, Sandy. Sarah, good to see you both again.
Good to
yeah,
see you, Nick. Thanks. And thanks everyone who joined us.
Yeah. Have a good night, you guys.
Bye.
are we off?